All right, welcome back, guys. Welcome back to episode number 5. In this episode, we are going to be creating the card. So this is the example that I showed you earlier, and we will be composing this card out of Chakra-ui components. If you are following with the Git repo that I have provided, you can check out the commit that you can check out the commit that has a start of episode 5 on it. And you will find yourself exactly where I am right now. All right, so the first thing we will do right now is that we don't really have a card file in the pages folder, so I will do that. So I will just make a file here, call it card.js. All right, I no longer need this. Let's make a functional component and call this card. Oopsie, that has to be capital. Let's call this card, and inside there I will simply just make a box, import box from Chakra-ui. All right, and I know that this box is going to be the card itself, and inside that box we will have this image right there. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to have an image here, and this image will also come from Chakra-ui, and that image will have an src equals thumb.png. Now, if you are following with the GitHub repo, you will find that the images are already where they are, so you can reference the same exact code that I'm doing. Otherwise, if you're doing your own thingy, then yep, you can use whatever pictures that you want to use. I'm just gonna give this an alt real quick, so course cover. All right, and I'm gonna save this. Let's go back to my local host, refresh that. And you can see now that we have the box, which is the div containing the image, and the image is right there. Okay, now this image is way too big and the box is also way too big. So let's work around with the box and give it some styling. So I'm gonna give a width of 400 pixels for that box. So the box is 400 pixels. Now everything gets smaller. I will also give it rounded edges of 20 pixels. So border radius of 20 pixels in that case. Now you don't really see those rounded edges simply because the image is overflowing the rounded edges. And to fix that, I'm just gonna give this guy overflow of hidden. When I do that, then the image will now have to, the overflow of the image will have to be hidden. All right, no problem there. And then I'm gonna give this box also some small box shadow, so just a little bit to give it some elevation from the background. And what else do we need to do here? Actually, that's basically it. All right, good. Now after that we have, so now we have all of that done, right? And now what I will do is I'm gonna make a box, and this box will contain all the things down there. So for this, I'm just gonna make a box like that, and this box I will give it significant or maybe like generous padding, so it will look like this. And now you can see that my box, my original container, doesn't really have any background. I don't like that, so let's just give it my favorite background in this time, which is gray 200. This really doesn't really adapt to the dark mode yet, and it's okay, but we will fix that later. But let's just compose the main box first. Okay, so the first thing I want to do here is I want to do these 2 badges and 2 hours of lectures. I'm sure this course is not really 12 lectures, but anyway, I'll just leave it as it is, to be honest. Okay, so for this, I am going to import badge from Chakra-ui. So that's the badge right there, and there will be one badge called new. If I save this, so I will see the badge right there. Okay, good. Now this is not really the look I'm going for, so I'm gonna change the look using a variant, and I can have a couple of variants here. So we have outline, we have solid, and we have subtle. So if I change this to outline, it looks like that, and subtle, and so on. So I'm gonna change this to solid, and most importantly, I will change this to a variant color of teal, just to go with the flow of the color coming from Chakra-ui. Now it looks alright, but I don't like the fact that it has rectangular edges basically. So what I'll do is I will give this guy a rounded full, not rull, full. So when you do that, what happens here is that the edges from the side, it's not a circle anymore, but it's just like it's like a bullet in a way, a bullet. Yeah, something like a bullet. And I don't like also that that the text is very kind of like smushed in there. I'm just going to give it a margin on the x-axis of, I'm going to give it a padding on the x-axis of 2. So that will just give it a little bit of space inside there. Good. So far, so good. So that is the badge. Now I'm going to copy that badge. And because I want to have another one, and this badge is going to say React. So we have 2 badges now. This looks horrible, but hold on with me. That's all right. And then I'm going to have to put that text as well, which is 2 hour, 12 lectures, and so on. So for this, I'm just simply going to use a text. No, I am going, can you please import it for me? No, not this. Anywho, so I'm just going to use a text. Let me import it manually. I'm just going to use a text from Chakra-ui here. Okay. And then here I will put 2 hours and then end bool. And then just say 12 lectures. I think this will be more or less like 6 lectures. But anyway, so 12 lectures right there. Did I even type that correctly? Lectures. All right, cool. Now what I will do, I'll do some modifications here to make it look neat. So I'll just want to text transform this to, to uppercase. I will transform this to uppercase. Okay. Another thing I need to do here is I'm going to make this font size the smallest possible. So I will change this to small font size. And I will change also the color here to be grade 500. So it's a little bit different in color. Yes, that looks all right. So far, so good. And to give it this feel that this this typing is kind of like a meta typing, I'm just going to give it letter spacing of white. So that will spread it up just a little bit. Now we have these 3 things, which is 2 badges and the text, but we don't really want them to show like this, right? We want them to be in line. We want them to be online. So to be able to do that, what I will do here is that I'm simply going to, first of all, import stack component, the one that we have used before. And I'm going to wrap these in that stack component. After I wrap them in the stack component, I'm going to tell the stack component to be in line. So look at this. Bam, looks good. But remember that the stack component is also based on flex. So what I can do here is I can align these things inside that flex container basically to the baseline. You see how this is kind of offset from where this is? So once I save that, yes, it looks good. It brings everything down to the baseline of the text. That looks clean. And you can see that the stack is already taking care of like the spacing and everything. This is already looking spot on. Good. So we have finished up until here. Let's put the title and move on with the description. So outside of the stack, let me put another text. Now, whenever I put a text, if you inspect this, you can see that this is a P. So whenever you use text, it's actually rendering a P. But which is okay in this case, but it's not okay here. So what I will do here is I'm going to use the as prop. So the as prop will actually use the text or whatever it is to recompose it. So I'm going to recompose this as H2. After you do this, let's type here introduction to Chakra-ui. I love how smart VS Code is sometimes. Introduction to Chakra-ui, and you have to notice here that this is H2, but it's actually like the size is standard. And the reason for this is because I am already using a CSS reset to wrap all my app in. This is recommended from the Chakra-ui team, and I think it's a really good practice. So now I have just a very plain text that is rendering as H2, but does not have any styling. Okay, so what do we do with this text? So I'm gonna give it some font weight first. So font weight here will be semi-bold. Yep, that will make it look a little bit more prominent, and I'm gonna make it bigger as well. So the font size here is gonna be XL. So far so good, I think. Yes, that looks okay. My only issue here is that it's a little bit close to that row on the top. I don't like that, so I'm just going to give it a margin on the y-axis of 2. And yeah, this 2 number that we have discussed before, that times 4 pixels, you can pass it as a string or as an actual number. So this will work, and this will also work. It's all the same. Okay, beautiful. Okay. let's move on to the next bit, which is the description right there. So this is really, really simple. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a text again, and this text, oopsie, yep, this text, and then I will insert a paragraph. Save this, and you can see the long paragraph showing right there. That's a bit too long actually, but that's okay. No worries with that. With Chakra-ui, it got your back covered. And the reason for this is because I can pass is truncated to the text, and that will be truncated literally from after the first line. Now, this is extremely handy. Many times when you're dealing with APIs, you actually find that the response of the API is too big for your card, too small for your card. Sometimes it's not that long, sometimes it's long enough. So yeah, it depends. So that's why is truncated is really good. However, I don't want things to look that way. I need at least maybe two or three lines. So what I will do is I'm going to look at this word, emit something. So I'm going to go after this word, and I'm going to have a line break right there. So BR like this, and then I have my line break. Let me just delete this empty string. Yes, so I get one line right there. And actually, you know what? Let me just move this back to after this word. Yep. Okay, good. And I will also put a couple of other line breaks just to make this look good. I'm just going to remove this so I can see the actual text. Okay, good. So Amit, I have my line break here. After tempur, I want to have another line break. And after dolor, I want to have another line break. Save all of that. So I have my line breaks in place. And now I can go back to that text and make it truncated. So is truncated, and that will give me 3 lines, and then that last line will go to truncated. It goes to infinity. Now this is the description. So because it's the description, I want to give it font weight of light, because the distress on that description is not as much. That looks all right. I also want to give it a font size of MD, I think, of medium. I think it already is, but just to confirm and make it consistent, that will be a medium, and this will be X large, so that looks all right. Now, that's it for the description. Let's move on to the next bit. This bit is quite interesting, but we will use the same kind of methodology that we used here. So again, I'm just going to start doing the actual elements, which is the price and the reviews and the stars. Once we have done them and they are kind of stacked on top of each other, we can figure out a way how to put them in line like that. So I'm not worried about making them in line right now. Okay, good. So for this, I'm simply just gonna have to use another text, and that text will have the $20 price on it, and that will have a font weight. That will have a font weight of, again, I think semi-bold will work here. Sorry for this. Yep, semi-bold. Semi-bold will work here. And the font size here, I think it's gonna be, large, medium. Let me check medium first. Oh no, I think it's too small. It has to be prominent because this is one of the main communication points with the user. Yeah, I think that's okay. Okay, good. Okay, so with the price done, what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to start by doing the stars. Now, the way you do the stars in Chakra-ui, you deal with them as if they were icons. So you use an icon component, and that icon component will get a name prop that will tell it it's a star, it's a moon, or whatever. So let's do that first of all, just to start with. So I'm gonna have an icon here, and this icon component is already imported before. So I'm gonna name this, let's just say add, and let me just take a look at this. Okay, let me go back to here. Yep, and you can see that icon right there. So I can change this to star, and this is what I want. And what's very handy about these components is that I can also change the color of these components. So I can put it as teal, and that component will have a teal color. I have to give it a number of that teal color, so teal 500 will work. Okay, good. So that is teal 500 right there. So that's the teal color. Okay, so now I don't only need 1 star, I actually need 5 stars. 4 stars, I actually need 5 stars. But anyway, 4 stars that are going to be in teal 500 and 1 star that's going to be in normal color. Now I could do this in the normal way by this. This is just 4 stars right there. And I can have a last star there and take this out. Okay, so this way actually works, but I don't like this way. It simply is not elegant enough for my taste. So I'm not going to leave it like that. What I will do, otherwise is I'm going to use some JavaScript Magic. So I will cut this away and I will do this, which is I'm going to create an array on the fly that will have 4 elements inside of it, and I'm going to fill this array with empty strings. Next, I'm going to take that array and map a function to it. That function will take 2 variables. One, which is this one, is going to refer to the element itself, and I is going to be the index of that element. Now this function will return the following, simply that icon that we just have. If I save this, I'm just going to get 4 icons, and the last thing I will do here after these 4 icons, I'm going to put the last icon right there. So a little bit more concise, and to be honest, in my opinion, slightly better code. Good. So after I've finished this, I can put another text here. And this text will say 34 reviews. Right now, this course has 0 reviews. Don't lie to people. Okay, I'm sorry. Just run, just run with me, please. Just let me go. So I'm gonna have this text, but again, text renders a P. This is not a P. This is probably an H3, so let's just do that. And if I render this, it goes like that, and it's a bit too small, so I'm gonna change that font size to large in this case. And I still like that font weight. I still like that font weight of semi-bold. Looks good to me, to be honest. And that will make it look like that. All right, so now I have the price, I have the stars, and I have the number of reviews, but these are all 3 elements that are kind of on top of one another. So I really don't like, we need them to be in line. And again, I'm going to use the same trick from before by wrapping these in a stack. And then this stack will also have is inline prop passed to it, and then everything will be in line right there. Good. Now, I don't like the fact that these are kind of spread apart like that, so to fix this, I am going to wrap them as well into a box, so they act as one component inside that flex stack. Now, it's probably overkill to have these as a div because they are just icons, so I'm just gonna render this as a span. So again, I'm using the as prop here to kind of like recompose that box into something else. Now these are kind of like spread only to the left side. I don't like this, so because stack is actually nothing but a flex container, so we can give it justify, which stands for justify content, and I will do this space between. Now the last issue here is that we have the reviews and this being treated as separate components in the flex stack. So we have 1, 2, 3. This is not going to work with us. What we want to do is jam up this and this into the same component. And to do this, I am simply going to wrap the box and the text, wrap these in another box, but to have them next to each other, I'm going to change the direction to flex, and if voila, it should work. All right, good. Now it works. The last thing I want to do here is actually this is a little bit too mushed into that star, which I really don't like. So I'm gonna go into that icon and I'm gonna give it a margin right of 2. Another thing also that I forgot, since we are actually rendering an array here, so I need to give it a key which is gonna make React happy. That will not change anything, but it will make React happy. You gotta make React happy, man. Okay, good. So far so good. Another thing I want to do here actually is we can change the colors now, but I want to show you a central solution to color changes in the text and in the background. So I'm gonna keep this for now. Yes, I'm gonna keep this for now. Okay, the last thing we need here is that button, so I can go up away from that stack and I can simply do a button here, and in that button I will write down sign up now. Sign up now. Okay, good. Now that button is really looking horrible, to be honest, so I'm just gonna give it a variant color of teal, so that just to go out with the rest of the theme. And this button is probably a bit too small, so I'm gonna give it a size of large in this case. Yep, just make it a little bit bigger. And the last thing for this button is actually 2 things. One is give it a margin from the top that is at least say, I don't know, at least 3 maybe, yeah, at least 3, just to push it up there. And it's not really in the middle, which is really driving me crazy. So now we can wrap this again in a box, and inside that box we can have text line equals center, which is one of the easiest way to center a button right there. That's it. Another thing also, just to give it the same feel like all our other pages, so I'm gonna give it a box shadow of small, and when you hover over it, when you hover over it, I'm gonna give it a box shadow of medium. And the last thing is when you click it, which is active state, I'm gonna give it a box shadow of large. So that will give it a little bit more realistic feel to it. So this is small, you hover over it, it kind of responds to you. You click on it, responds even more. Woohoo! Okay, good. So that is basically the card. So this is almost exactly the same card right now, but I have this a little bit bigger. So there are a little bit minor differences between the two versions. They are actually kind of almost the same thing. But what I want to show you here is a couple of things here with the colors. So now this is kind of compatible with dark mode, but actually doesn't look the greatest. So I'm going to show you another way to handle dark mode values. So in this case, what I will do is I'm going to do the same trick, const color mode equals use color mode, which is coming from Chakra-ui. Okay, good. So now I have a variable that tells me which color mode I am in. And then inside there, I'm going to make another variable that's going to be called bg color. I'm going to call that bg color, and this is going to be an object that has two properties. The first property is called light. So if it's light, I want to give a background color of 200, and if it's dark, not dark, darl, if it's dark, I'm going to give it a value of gray.700. Okay, good. I'm going to copy this and paste it again, and this will change to text color, and for the text color, when it's light, I'm gonna leave it as gray 500, and when it's dark, I'm gonna put it to gray 100. Now, if I save this, of course, nothing happened because we're not using this anywhere. But let me change this value here to B, and in this case, what I will do is I'm gonna use that object called bg color, but I will also kind of switch that object based on what color mode there is. So if it's light, it's going to refer to bg color light, which is gray 200. If it's dark mode, there's going to be bg color dark, which is gray 700. Let me save that. Nothing changes here, but if I go there, it gets darker. Now everything looks really solid for me. The only thing here that I would like to change is actually the color of this. Yeah, I think it's a bit too strong. Yeah, I think it's a bit too strong. So what I'll do is I'm going to use the gray 500 and gray 100, that text color, and I will take that and apply it to the stack that holds these three values. So that stack here, I'm going to give it a color, which is going to apply to the text color, of course, and that will be text color, yes, text color off, based on the color mode, yes. If I save this, now you can see here is yeah, this looks really pleasing to my eyes. A little bit less contrast, but again, enough contrast to be seen, I think, and enough aesthetics, I think. Yeah, it looks beautiful. From here, it's still viewable. Here, it's still viewable, and everything looks good. I believe that is the end of this episode. It was quite long. I hope you really stood your ground and finished it to the end. I hope you learned something also. Thank you very much for listening to my videos, and I will see you guys in the next one.